The British rock singer Ozzy Osbourne, formerly with the group Black Sabbath, escaped injury when a plane made two low passes over the house in Florida where he was staying with his present band and then crashed into it. But the group's lead guitarist and makeup artist were killed. Osbourne, who's from Birmingham, has achieved notoriety through outrageous stage antics, including biting the heads off birds. Keith Hindle reports.
A private plane buzzed the house in Leesburg, Florida, where the group was staying. On the third pass, the pilot clipped their tour bus, parked outside, and ploughed into the house, killing the group's lead guitarist, Randy Rhoads, and the makeup artist, Rachel Youngblood. He also killed himself. Ozzy Osbourne was sitting in the bus at the time, but somehow survived unhurt. All the other members of the group also escaped, even though petrol from the wrecked plane started a fierce fire and gutted the house.
All right, thanks for joining us on another episode of Why Not Go. We're here in Leesburg, Florida, and if you don't know Florida, Leesburg is, I think, about 35 miles northwest of Orlando, kind of in the middle of the state. And we're here in a very serene part of Leesburg. There's cows in the fields and beautiful, beautiful pastures. And unfortunately, this is a very tragic site. Back in 1982, this is where the guitarist Randy Rhoads died in that airplane crash. I grew up in LA. I remember Quiet Riot. That was his band. I believe it was the late 70s. I don't think I ever saw them live, but I remember they used to play the Whiskey a lot. And Randy Rhoads was the guitar player for Quiet Riot. And then I guess he was sort of a virtuoso. And after Quiet Riot, he joined Ozzy Osbourne's band and was on a couple of Ozzy Osbourne's album. So in 1982, he was on tour with Ozzy Osbourne, and I guess they had just played Knoxville, Tennessee, and they were going to play Orlando the following night. And they came out here. I forget, I believe his name was Jerry Calhoun. I forget who owned the house. You can see, we'll zoom in a bit. You can see a little bit there in the trees. You can see a plane there in the middle. Just to the right is a beautiful old house. And they had to fix, I guess their tour bus had a broken air conditioner, so they stopped here and they spent the night before their show in Orlando. And Ozzy and Sharon were asleep in the tour bus, and Randy Rhoads went out with the tour driver, who also could fly a plane. And unfortunately, he took I guess a couple people up, and everything was fine. And then he took Randy Rhoads up in the plane with the makeup artist. And afterwards, I guess they said there was cocaine in his system, nothing in Randy Rhoads' system. But he was trying to clip the tour bus. The tour bus would have been parked right where you see those kind of clump of trees there between. That's where the house is. The tour bus would have been there, right in the middle there, and between the house there through the trees and where the plane is. So the tour the tour bus was there in the front, and Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne were sleeping. I guess it was early morning in I don't remember the month, in 1982. And Ozzy, the pilot, did a few turns around, and nobody knows for sure. They think he was trying to get close to the bus to kind of, joke around with Ozzy and Sharon. Or there's another theory that his ex-wife, or an ex-wife he was trying to reconcile with, showed up that morning, and maybe that agitated him. There's another theory that maybe he was trying to kill this woman who showed up. But whatever happened, the plane clipped the top of the tour bus and then just did some cartwheels. And I thought it damaged the whole house, but I guess it didn't. It just damaged the garage. So everyone was killed instantly, of course. So tragic. So many tragedies in rock and roll as far as plane crashes. You've got obviously Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, Jim Croce, Leonard Skinner. And this is another tragic crash. It should have never happened. The pilot, again, I guess he was the tour bus driver. He didn't really, doesn't sound like he knew what he was doing, even though he had a pilot's license. But it's another tragedy in the list of rock and roll tragedies in plane crashes. So let's just pan around. It's a beautiful spot. I had no idea. You know, before you visit a place, you always kind of wonder what it might look like. And I figured it was a housing development. But really, there's hardly any houses here. I guess each person gets several acres. And so there it is. There's the house. I'm just going to zoom in. You can see a little bit of the white there of the pillars. That's the house where they were parked outside of. And as I said, Ozzy and Sharon were sleeping in the tour bus. And you see a private plane there. I guess it's John Travolta apparently, he lives in Ocala in a similar kind of neighborhood, in that you could fly your plane right up to your house. I believe the airstrip for this area is just over there. But it's a very beautiful, peaceful area. But unfortunately, 3 people died unnecessarily and on that morning in 1982. And one of them was the legendary guitarist Randy Rhoads. But what a beautiful spot. I found a better angle for the house. So again, this is the house where the Ozzy Osbourne band was staying at back in 1982 for one night while they were waiting to get their bus repaired. And then early that morning, Randy Rhoads went out with the tour bus driver who had a pilot's license, and it ended tragically when the plane clipped the tour bus. So the tour bus would have been right in the front there, and it clipped the tour bus, and unfortunately after that it was all over. I think the wing blew off, and the plane started doing cartwheels, and it smashed into the garage. I guess it was a garage on the property. Maybe over there where you see the buildings on the left, maybe those are the new garages. I don't know, but it did clip the garage. It clipped the bus rather, and then smashed into the ground, and everything went up in flames. But the house is still there. It's a beautiful place. So this is where Randy Rhoads died, along with the makeup artist, a female, I think her name was Rachel, and the pilot slash bus driver. It's a beautiful place. I always wanted to visit this. As I said earlier, there's so many famous musicians who've died in small plane crashes, like Jim Croce, Leonard Skinner, members of Leonard Skinner, the Big Bopper, Ritchie Valens. I know there's so many others, but this is where Randy Rhoads passed away at a very young age. I'm sure he would have had a long, long career. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of Why Not Go. At the site right now of the terrible Randy Rhoads crash that ended his life just behind me. Thanks for joining us. Be seeing ya.